Okay, I have clicked the button so that everybody should be able to record. And the chat. Cindy, let's give it a minute and then you can um, drop a copy of the press release and the press packet into the chat. But let's do that at about 5 after because anybody that joins after you do that will not be able to see it. And
Okay,
then maybe like 15 minutes in, if you could do it a second time, that's useful.
we'll do.
Okay. All right. Well, I am going to start recording. All right. Rita, could you go ahead and say something? I need an
Sure.
image for when we start
Welcome,
recording, it
everyone.
will capture. Okay, you're going to be the opening image for our recording. So
Okay.
I'm going to start recording in 3, 2, 1. All right, we're recording now. And I give you that warning because I've just hit recording before in the past, and I have some very funny facial expressions. And I have to look at those every single time I open the recording. All right, well, welcome everyone. We are here today to talk about a lawsuit that we have filed regarding religious freedom, non-discrimination, and freedom of speech. I am Veronica Fowler. I'm the communications director with the ACLU of Iowa, and she, her pronouns. We have on the call with us today Rita Bettis-Austin, who is the ACLU of Iowa Legal Director, Matt Keziah, who is the General Counsel for the Satanic Temple, and then we also have ACLU of Iowa Staff Attorney Shafali Aurora. And what we will do is we will start with a brief opening statement from Rita, sort of explaining what the case is about. Cindy Garcia, if you haven't already received our media release, Cindy, could you, if you haven't already, drop that into the chat? We also have a press packet that has some photos, including some photos of some of the items of the display that's in dispute. Um, so that could be very useful. But anyway, Rita will make a brief opening statement. She will be followed by Matt. And then we will open it up for questions for all of the attorneys, including Shafali Aurora. So with that, Rita, why don't you get started?
All right. Thank you, Veronica. As Veronica said, I'm Rita Bettis-Austin, and I am the legal director for the ACLU of Iowa. Today, we filed a federal lawsuit on behalf of our clients, the Satanic Temple and Mortimer Adramelech. This follows 3 separate complaints of religious discrimination that we filed with the Iowa Office of Civil Rights in 2024, 2025, and 2026 for denials of equal use of the Capitol Rotunda in Iowa for their December holiday event. And this event is planned to be family friendly with take and bake ornaments, coloring pages, a costume contest, and singing carols. In this lawsuit, we are asking the court to block state officials from continuing to deny the Satanic Temple's application to use the space. We argue that the denials violate, as Veronica said, the right to free speech, religious exercise, and non-discrimination under the First and 14th Amendments to the Constitution, and also that they violate the Iowa Civil Rights Act and Iowa's new Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And we are joined in this effort by our co-counsel, the Iowa civil rights firm Hasso and Wilson law firm, and the Keziah law firm PLC. And Matt Keziah is also general counsel for the Satanic Temple. So we're asking that the court both require the state to stop the discrimination against our client by denying their ability to use that space while allowing all other religious and non-religious groups to do so. And we're seeking damages for past violations. We've brought this case to uphold are core principles of free speech and religious exercise that we all hold dear, and to require the state, as it must, to come back in line with these constitutional and statutory requirements of religious freedom and non-discrimination. In our country and in the state of Iowa, it is a foundational principle that the government should not favor one religious belief over another or discriminate against its citizens based on their religious beliefs. So that means when the state makes the public space in the Capitol Rotunda available for these religious holiday events, for example, a Christmas event or a Hanukkah event, it cannot then deny that same right to other religious groups that it disfavors. And members of the Iowa congregation of the Satanic Temple have the same right to express their beliefs as all other religious groups. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to my colleague in the case, Matt Kazaya, who will make a statement, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you all for being here. This is a very significant case. The foundational principles of our republic is that governments may not pick and choose who gets to participate in the public forums. We all equally are allowed to participate in public life, regardless of whether we're popular, regardless of whether particular government officials agree with what we have to say or how we view things. And this case is intended to uphold those principles and hopefully bring state officials back in line with those principles.
Great, thank you. All right, we will go ahead and open it up to reporter questions. You can raise your hand, you can just sing out, you can post a question in the chat, whatever works. And I see a hands going up. Lori Bellin. Lori, go ahead and ask your question.
Can you talk a little bit about the decision to file suit in federal court when some of your claims relate to state laws? Why not sue in state court?
Great question. In this case, we are bringing federal constitutional claims, and we're looking both to get injunctive relief requiring the state of Iowa to follow the federal constitution, and damages. And so federal court was the appropriate venue for us to be able to do that. And the federal court has what's called supplemental jurisdiction over those state law claims when we're making those federal constitutional claims like we are here. So the federal court is able to decide all of those, and this was just the appropriate venue for this case in our view.
Okay, thank you. Tom Barton, you're next up.
Yeah, thank you. I was hoping you could talk a little bit about what happened with the civil rights complaints that were filed with the State Civil Rights Office in, was it 2024, 2025, and 2026? You know, what the outcome was there and why you are now having to go to the federal court. And then just my last question, you mentioned that you were asking for damages. I was wondering if you have any idea as to what, you know, the dollar amount likely would be for those damages, or what, you know, realistically you would likely ask of a court.
Yeah, I'll take those in order and as best as I can. So the three complaints, the first one went all the way through the 2024 complaint, went through the screening process. It takes some time for a complaint to make its way through the Iowa Office of Civil Rights. And so we did get a decision on that, finding that there was probable cause that discrimination on the basis of religion had occurred, which is certainly what we expected. We also have filed those complaints in 2025 and 2026, as you mentioned, but those have not yet had the same opportunity to get a probable cause determination, although we wouldn't expect, given that the applications are identical and they were denied, the applications to DAS, I mean. And it's all really part of one continuing practice that we would get a different result. But ultimately, it was time to file in federal court, in part because there is a statute of limitations for these federal constitutional claims, which in Iowa is 2 years. So the way that that works in our state is that you have to seek what's called a right to sue letter. And then you get an administrative release from the Iowa Office of Civil Rights. So we did that, exhausted our state remedies, and now are able to bring those state Civil Rights Act claims in addition to our federal constitutional claims all in one complaint. So it's now no longer with the state agency, and it's all included in this litigation that we're talking about today. And then your second question was about damages. I'll just give you, rather than give you a dollar amount, which I don't think would be probably appropriate for us to do at this stage, I can give you some examples of the types of damages that occurred here. And those are that because the Satanic Temple was put on the calendar, was anticipating to be able to hold their event, and then were informed that they weren't able to hold their event in 2024. And then also in 2025 were denied. They had to find an alternative location and had to obviously pay for costs of reserving the space, those sorts of things. So there are some concrete money damages here related to these denials.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Tom?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next up, William. William Morris.
Hi. First, just to piggyback on that, is there a possibility for punitive damages in this case as well? And then also, I just wonder if you could talk about, there have been Satanic Temple groups have had similar disputes in other states, I know. Are there any useful precedents from other states or other circuits that you think are going to be applicable here?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm so sorry. I meant to write it down and I did, and I'm looking at it and it's chicken scratch. So, what was your first question? And I apologize. I just completely.
No problem. No problem. It's just wondering if there is a possibility for punitive damages.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I wrote down P something, so that makes sense. We are not seeking punitive damages in this case. So that's an easy answer there. And then actually, I think that Matt, would you like to jump in and talk about, Matt is involved, I think, in each of these cases that you're talking about that have occurred over the last 10, 15 years. Would you like to talk about that, Matt? I mean, to answer your question, there are some good precedents, certainly.
Yeah, so we just won a very significant case the better part of 5 months ago now in Arkansas, which may have some legal bearing on this one, which establishes the bona fides of TST as a religion in the Eighth Circuit. There was a prior one in 2020, if I remember right, that also established our bona fides in the Ninth. So that's the main issue that historically has been something of a hurdle for us to overcome with the courts, just the internal tension of, well, is this a real religion or not? Beyond that, it's a very case-by-case, fact-intensive inquiry with all of our cases. So, it's not like we can say, well, we won in K versus now Jester, so therefore we're going to win here. And it's not like anyone else can say, well, you lost in this other case, so you're going to lose here. It's very fact-specific about what happened in this particular case. Was TST discriminated against because of their religion or not? Was the government trying to pick and choose who gets to be involved in public life or not? And for those reasons, the legal background is not very significant as to what's happened in other states, for good or ill.
I'll also add to that excellent answer just to say that the legal precedents when you're talking about the government limiting somebody's ability to speak in a public forum based on their viewpoint, including their religious viewpoint, based on the content of their speech. There is legal precedent that's very, very well established that says that the government simply can't be doing that. And so in addition to cases that are specific to the Satanic Temple, there is a long history of protecting those First Amendment rights, both to speech and to religious exercise, that we're drawing on in this litigation.
Thank you. I looked up that Arkansas case, the district court ruling in March while we were talking. Is there any specific Eighth Circuit precedent on any Satanic Temple legal disputes?
There is Eighth Circuit case law on some Satanic Temple disputes, but nothing on this kind of a case. The one in Arkansas that you're addressing is up on appeal now. Our responsive brief, we won that case, so the state filed their response about a month ago. Our responsive brief isn't due for about a month now, so we're not going to hear anything from the Eighth on that Arkansas case for probably a good year or so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great questions. Ray Bakari, you are next up.
Hi, what was the state's rationale during each denial? Like, what did they say was the reason each time the applications were denied?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that, but I feel like Matt, you might prefer to and would be great if you want.
Uh, yeah, so the state said that we were going to beat children with sticks because we were going to have a costume contest, which involved people holding sticks. The local congregation, TST Iowa, was very emphatic that that was not going to happen, and yet for uh, reasons not subject of judicial admissions, they just would not budge from that position. Now, Adam Steen was very clear about the actual reasoning in his subsequent campaign messaging, which are all well detailed in our motion for preliminary injunction and declaration in support.
Matt, would you also speak briefly to the response that you provided, making clear to the state that not only would not happen, but was never the intention, and that is inconsistent with the core tenets of the Satanic Temple?
Yeah, so TST has a one of our initiatives is called the Protect Children Project. A core tenet of TST's ideology is against hitting kids, and the Protect Children Project is basically an outcropping of that, in which we assert a religious right for our school-age children to not be beaten by, for example, school officials. So it's highly entertaining for my part that they would say, well, you're going to beat kids, because they clearly did not do the slightest amount of investigation. In fact, what they were doing is they were just operating off of stereotypes, which is transparent pretext. And to Rita's point, I issued a letter to that effect, and if I remember correctly, December of 2024. And this has been an ongoing issue since. And Steen candidly admitted in November of 2025 that when our 2025 application was denied, it was on the exact same reasoning as the 2024 denial. So when I say they would not budge, I mean very emphatically, we were very, very clear. This is a family-friendly event. We're going to be coloring, we're going to be engaged in coloring books and take and make ornaments. There's going to be carols. This is a family-friendly event. No part of that would involve beating children under any circumstances.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Michael Heckel, your hand is up.
Hi there. With KCCI here. Did the state, when this initially happened, the denial in 2024, did the state provide any sort of standard or rubric that it uses to judge these kind of events? And did it give, the Satanic Temple any opportunities to change specific parts of the event to make it compliable? And then following up to that, have there been any other examples of other religions or protected groups like that that have been denied events at the Capitol that you guys are aware of?
Great question. I would love for my colleague Shefali to answer that. I know she has an answer sort of at the ready and has all of the other events that were held at the same time top of mind.
Sure, happy to answer the question. So in terms of the 2024 denial, the initial response cited to the Memorandum of Understanding, the initial denial cited to the Memorandum of Understanding that the Satanic Temple had entered with the state for the event. And it mentioned that the event was denied because of, as we've discussed before, this potential danger to children. And the exact language is included in our exhibits. But the decision was just a general cite to the Memorandum of Understanding. It did not give any specific examples of what parts of the event were objectionable. And as Matt mentioned, he reached out, as well as our other plaintiff, Mr. Drumlick, reached out in order to get some more information onto the details of what exactly is the issue that IDAS was having with the event. And they did not provide any specific details even after the follow-up. They basically just stated that it was the combination of the presence of minors, along with the possibility of harm to them with these sticks that the Satanic Temple was going to have at their event. The Satanic Temple did try to, explain to them that the sticks were just part of the costume and they were not going to actually be used. They explained that there's no history of violence at these types of events. They really tried to work with IDAS to address any concerns, even going as far as mentioning that they were willing to remove the Krampus costume portion entirely from their event if that was truly the concern with the event. And all of those endeavors went unanswered. IDAS never worked with the Satanic Temple to actually address any concerns they have and just let the denials stand on those vague terms. For 2025, the denial provided no basis. It simply just said that the event application is denied. They gave no reasoning or explanation as to why.
And to
Oh, go ahead, please. I
uh,
know we have the same additional point. Go ahead, Matt.
and no one else, no other religious groups, or near as I've seen in public records responses, no one else has ever been rejected. It's just TST.
Oh, yes, sorry, I forgot to answer that. There's also documentation included showing that the other denials, the IDAS is really able to point to a reason. For example, there's some that were not filed within the 30 days prior to the event that they're required to. So there's a concrete basis for those denials. But the Satanic Temple was never given any such basis that they could actually address.
One thing that the Iowa Office of Civil Rights, in screening the 2024 complaint in and finding probable cause of discrimination, noted is the fact that this Krampus costume contest was pointed to, an explanation was given, and even, as Shafali has mentioned, an offer to just remove that from the event in order to hold the event. The fact that that didn't ultimately alter the decision was a very strong piece of evidence showing pretext and showing probable cause of discrimination.
Okay, thank you. Ray, your hand is up. Did you want to ask another question?
Yes, thank you. It sounds like this has been a multi-year issue, so why file the lawsuit now instead of sooner?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great decision. So part of the answer is that we certainly were hoping for a change of course and wanting to give the state the opportunity to simply do the right thing. The other is that while our first complaint was pending, they then denied the 2025 application. And so we wanted to make sure and exhaust on that as well, so that we were able to bring those Iowa Civil Rights Act claims as for the 2025. And then, that happened again with the 2026 event as well. So, but we are now certainly at the point where the state has had ample and then some opportunity to change course. And, we are, of course, prepared and willing to take this next step to protect these core and fundamental constitutional rights.
Does that answer it for you, Ray?
Yes.
Great. Okay, William.
Last one from me. But can you just talk quickly about the connection with your ongoing Iowa atheists and freethinkers executive privilege dispute with the state? Obviously, that was initially involved records related to, I think, some of these Satanic Temple events.
Yes. So the Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers filed an open records request with the governor's office for records related to the 2024 denial in particular. And some were provided, a number were withheld based on this novel, very broad theory of executive privilege that the governor is arguing would allow the governor's office to withhold these public records that they admit are public records. And we have challenged that. Obviously, there is a related case involving the Des Moines Register, where the governor has also claimed this broad executive privilege. Both of those cases are now in the Polk County District Court and State Court. So we are continuing to litigate the right of our other client to access those records as we're bringing these civil rights claims.
Thank you. So we have a question in the chat from Lana Bradstream. It says TST's been active in Tama County during the past couple years. Is Tama County or the city of Tama included in any legal actions?
Not a part of this litigation. I can't speak to any other legal actions.
I'm not familiar with any issues arising out of Tama County or the city of Tama either.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, we will go ahead and wrap it up. If any of you need a recording afterwards, just shoot me an email at editor@aclu-ia.org. That or I think on the press release, the Veronica Fowler email is there, but shoot me an email and I'm happy to get you a recording just as soon as I get one from Zoom. So otherwise, thank you so much for attending, and thanks to our attorneys for filing and explaining this important case. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.